What's up, guys? I got the pencil back for another edition of 3-Minute Thursdays, and let's hop right into it with Martial, Magic, and Muscles. So this was a very little content chapter. I mean, it has a decent, it's very, once again, we're transitioning to the next big fight. So this guy, Wahlberg or whatever, the Master Wahlberg, he came in to kill Lord Abel because he failed. And Lord Abel gets saved at the last second by one of his servants, and that's cool. However, the interesting thing about this chapter is that the guy who came here to kill Abel is like, wait a minute, I'm getting a headache now from Mash, but Mash has no magic. So that intrigues me personally, because I'm like, ooh, what's the connection there? What are we going to do with this? And they're about to fight. And that's just about it. It's a very quick chapter, but honestly, these last few pages of art, especially the last page with Mash about to fight, ooh, that's some fantastic art. I think it's an easy 7 out of 10 chapter. Great work, great transition. That's what I have to say. It's a wonderful transition between chapters and fights. Now, moving on to Dr. Stone. The interesting thing I find about Dr. Stone this week is mostly the fact that Zeno's let loose, but he's let loose in a contained area where he can't go anywhere, and he and Senku, along with Chrome, a bit of Chrome's help, are able to pinpoint the location, the exact location of where the petrification wave came from in South America. That's the main point of this chapter, but the interesting thing I like to see is this final image where you see the difference. You see the more emotionless, calculating look of Dr. Zeno, and you see the more determined, human look of Senku. It shows that they're both really, really intelligent, but they're intelligent in different ways with different factors, but they can still work together for the greater good, which is the most interesting thing that I've seen out of this chapter. That's what I like about having villains sort of just join the hero eventually, or by force like Zeno was, because it just leads to interesting dynamics like this. Like, this is something I expected, but not in the way that it happened, and that's very cool to me. But that's an easy 8 out of 10 chapter, actually 7 out of 10. It's more transitionary. And then we move on to Undead Unlock. It was just her writing a manga. It's very meta because she wrote Undead Unlock, except of course it looks slightly different from the Undead Unlock we've been reading, but it's just a nice little, I feel like it's a very meta nod towards manga writing as a whole, and it's a nod for, it's just the way that Fuko gets her hands on the You-Me manga manuscript. And of course, it's still in Japanese, meaning it was penned by an artifact, meaning it was not affected by the world localization change, which means it has information of the future, which is going to be very important for the next chapter. Once again, it's just, these are good transitionary chapters. A nice 7 out of 10. It's a cute little jab of meta. I like just everything about the chapter. It just doesn't have much content-wise in it in terms of like things that I can actually hit on and talk about. Moving on to the most hyped chapter in all of Akashi Triangle. Yo, the first page of this chapter alone, this first 2-page spread of the Jinko and the King Shirogane fighting, that that was metal. That's what gives this chapter 9 out of 10. Oh, also the fact that we just learned more about the Jinyo's ideology. Like, it's just interested in eating high quality meals, but of course its high quality meals are Akashi, and you know, that ain't good, along with humans, and that ain't good. But at the end of the chapter, Matsuri shows up, punches the Jinyo in the face, and it's time for an actual fight. This is good. This is very good. I need more of this from Akashi Triangle. I need more stakes, more fights, less weird 14-year-old stuff, and more yeah. These people are warriors, that's right, and they all have special powers. I need more of that. Nice work, Akashi Triangle. Easy 9 out of 10, just for that hint of background. Whew, that was fire. That was a different type of fire. Moving on to Harbo, Cop and Dolphin. I don't know why this series gets me so hyped for no good reason. I really, really like it though. Like, honestly, this series is just really, really good. And this is another 9 out of 10 chapter, just because, like, you knew that something was up with the guy from last chapter who said he didn't know anything about why the dolphins were mistreating her, but learning that he's part of the coast of the sea, that was something weird, because that's just a part of the world that we know about, but we don't know that much about. The way that it's hinted that this weird lifeguard guy that just keeps checking out women without, and it's just weird, he was never there before, and he's likely He's likely one of the sea creatures that spontaneously evolved, but he's just living among humans for right now. But we can't worry about that right now because the guy who's part of the Cult of the Sea sort of just showed up and pushed the person who rejected him off the bridge. And now Orphe's going to save him while Samejima holds the guy down. Good chapter, solid 8 out of 10, great work, and good build up for future arcs. Moving on to Mori King. Mori King, I don't know, I'm low-key kind of disappointed. Like, they really overplayed the joke. Like, I feel like the whole Dragon Ball reference gag in the first 5 pages was really overplayed. Like, they went as far as to bury him, just like Goku buried Vegeta on Namek. But there's no, since it's not, I don't know, it just wasn't funny to me personally. And then I feel like the fight itself was sort of underwhelming. Like, this is the big fight this series has been building up to, or for the past couple chapters at least. It's like the final king candidate. So technically the series has been building up to this the entire time. But it seems underwhelming. It's very much an intro fight. I'm actually going to give this chapter a 6 out of 10 because the main gag at the beginning wasn't the biggest fan of. And I think the fight's kind of underwhelming. I didn't chuckle though. I chuckled a little bit. Especially, and I like finding out that these two knew each other in the past, but that's about it. Solid 6 out of 10. Then we're going to move on to Our Blood Oath. Now, for some reason, I really, really like this one vampire guy that's introduced in this chapter, and this series in its entirety is giving me massive, massive, massive Seraph of the End vibes. That's really what it's telling me indirectly. Like, their livestock, they belong to us, and any scum who dare fight back will die. Like, this massive Seraph of the End vibes, but it's taking it in a different direction. Because Seraph of the End doesn't really care about the harmony of vampires and humans, but that's the two main characters' goal. And here are these two other vampires who said their other vampire failed when they weren't able to get rid of Ko and the older brother. And now they're here just ready to pull up. And I'm intrigued because these two seem rather powerful just off their appearances. And I think the guy's design is really, really cool for no good reason. I want to know where he got that scar from because I thought vampires could regenerate. But I may be getting my vampire mythos is screwed up. So yeah, it's a solid 8 out of 10 chapter just because it introduced good things, it tells us more about the world, and it's just leading into an interesting stuff to do. Then we're gonna move on to Phantom Seer. Phantom Seer is interesting only for the fact that, like, nothing much happens. It's just them getting all the way to this rogue spirit. But the interesting thing is guiding hands have been gone missing. That's interesting to know about because, you know, our main character, Ibetsu, is a guiding hand. And what's his name? I'm so sorry. Because Iori has an interesting connection with a female spirit, a female phantom. And I'm like, whoa, what does that mean? And I'm intrigued. And he gets way more motivated once he figures that one out. And we learn more about the world, how, like, technically this guy in the suit is just a contractor. He's not really actually part of their organization specifically. It's just this chapter does very good for telling us about the world, even though not much happens in it. It's a lot of exposition, but it's well given exposition. So I'm still gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Once again, the art in this series is just so good. It has an interesting tint to it. I don't know what I mean by interesting tint. It has an interesting look to it, but it's still very, very good. Honestly, that's all for this week. It's a very solid week, but we are still in the transitionary phase. Like, fights are starting, we're moving into fights, and we're traveling, just in the case of Dr. Stone. Like, not much plot happens in these chapters, and that's fine. But I feel like that means next week's chapters are where we're really gonna ramp it up, and we're gonna start seeing actual plot heavy stuff. But that's my hope. That's what I always hope whenever I open up a new chapter on Viz. But regardless, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is that guy with the pencil, writing off.